Welcome back to Aetheral Space 2.17. Well,
Yeah.
we've last chapter we lost one of our favourite characters.
Samael, the most comically evil and not nuanced character I've ever seen in any piece of writing, with zero redeemable qualities.
How dare you? He just wanted some respect.
He just wanted some... Insecurity is not a redeemable quality.
Just a crumb of respect.
Yeah, by killing people for no reason.
I'll say this now, Samael just wanted a crumb of pussy.
Just a crumb, madame. This is so sad, he died a virgin.
That's canon.
Yeah.
Imagine your author not liking you and he could just say this shit about you. And then it's
Yeah.
true.
Alright, so, we've pretty much done the recap. Last time Samael died, the red figure killed him and said that he messed up all her plans. And that was about all I remember. I think that was the meat of it.
I don't think there was any gender specified.
Or, sorry, I just assumed it was a woman. The red figure killed him. Their plans. Okay. The Red Shadow observed Samael Ambrosio Zakos' corpse with the slightest sense of satisfaction. The bullet had entered right between his eyes, so the contents of his skull had been deposited all over the pillar behind him. It was a hasty coat of paint, but the bastard didn't deserve anything more elegant. Crouching down, the Shadow plucked the bullet from the bloody remnants of Zakos' seat of consciousness, depositing the metal object into a pocket. Excuse me. It wouldn't do to leave any unnecessary evidence. Why is it like blue line?
I don't know, because
I think it's trying to tell you to simplify. It's telling you to simplify to wouldn't leave. That
wouldn't make any sense.
That was why Samael Ambrosio Zakos had to die in the first place. Apart from the obvious reasons. They scanned the room one more time, making sure they'd left no trace of their presence save the corpse. The training they'd received made it a simple matter not to leave footprints, and the blows they dealt to the guards outside should keep them unconscious for an hour or two, with minimum after effects. Imagine being, able to measure your strength so finitely that you can punch someone well enough to knock them out, but not to cause permanent brain damage. the ability.
It's like perfect to the back of the neck.
Yeah, I've always thought that was really funny in movies when they say that, because that's like the perfect pitch of fighting. Just the right amount of force. Their punch-point pistol was equipped with a heavy-duty silencer, so there was little risk of anyone overhearing the execution. Satisfied with what they saw, the Shadow turned on their heel and ducked out of the tent. Things had gotten awful for a period back there, but they'd managed to make it out of the situation intact. The second their foot made contact with the ground outside, the Red Shadow was bathed in light. It was as if the stars themselves were glaring at them. The Shadow brought up a hand to shield their eyes, and so they saw what was going on around them. Numerous people, humanoid silhouettes, were standing in a circle around them, pointing lights at them. The Shadow recognized those lights as part of the equipment they'd been using to map out the ruins. I knew it! It's Helga! It's Helga. Sorry. In the hands of some members of the crowd were stun sticks, too, electric pole arms used to deter local wildlife while exploring ruins. They hadn't dared go for them while the automatics were guarding them, but it seemed the crowd had gone for them now. They tensed their body, heart thundering in their chest. Could they run for it, rejoin the crowd from another direction before their absence became obvious? How much did they know already? No, this was not good. This was awful. So these people are all watching this person come out, right?
Yeah, they just came out and it was like, little lights come on.
They had no doubt they could it's like in Persona 5 in the beginning when
exactly.
Joker hops over the wall. We got you surrounded! They had no doubt they could dispatch this crowd, dispatch the present member of Skipper's crew too if it came to it, but the damage would be irreparable all the same. The life they'd built would have already collapsed like a house of cards. What should they do? Their hand trembled. This should not have been happening. This should have been easy, like mopping up the floor after a spill. Even so, they had to do something, or else this would be the end of everything they'd worked so hard for, both here and back home. They tensed their body, getting ready to move, getting ready to do something, when the voice of Dragon Hadrian rang out. It's over, Helga. I called it! I knew it from the beginning. Helga, the Shadow's eyes widened at the sound of her name, and she let out a soft sigh. So that was how it was. Helga, incomparably powerful. Making sure to keep the entire crowd within her line of sight, she turned to the brightest source of light. That would be where Dragon was, judging from the aether tick that made his eyes glow. "How did you know?" she said, voice low. Dragon stepped forward, the light from the other observers revealing his resolute expression. "There were a few things. The way you managed to sneak around without being noticed, the endurance you showed when we went into the ruins that first time, and what you told me in the medical tent just before Zakos arrived." I can never remember Dragon's voice when we do this again. Helga closed her eyes. "I see." She'd known that had been a mistake. She'd known the second the words had left her mouth, but she couldn't keep them bottled up inside her anymore. Dragon continued on unprompted. Well, he seemed the type who liked to lay his reasoning out. "You mentioned how you needed medicine to maintain your body, but you never said how you got it. I looked it up, and the stuff's not expensive. The answer was obvious once I thought about it."
The exact opposite of what it should say. Stuff's not cheap.
Oh, you could have just removed not. The stuff's expensive. "The answer was obvious once I thought about it. The Supremacy pays you to report on the Humulist fleet's activities." "Traitor!" Helga sighed. He pretty much had the whole thing down. It was strange. She should have been panicking beyond reason from having her secret exposed, but she didn't feel like that at all. Instead, there was a sense of relief? Relief from her lies being exposed. She spoke, the words seeming to flow out without end when she opened her mouth. "You're absolutely right. The Galactic Intelligence Division reached out and arranged to provide medicine to myself and my siblings, so long as I did as they said." Dragon glared. "And you just accepted that? Becoming a traitor?" Yes. There was nothing else to be said. "Well, perhaps one thing. If I recall correctly, you're a traitor yourself. You deserted the Supremacy. What exactly separates me from you?" His glare intensified. "I didn't get anyone killed. Remember Dean? You were fine with him being burnt to a crisp?" She squeezed her eyes shut. "That wasn't supposed to happen." There was no sympathy in Dragon's voice.
Stop it.
He came back. You see like a guy step from behind Dragon. "I'll take it from here." "Well, it did. You brought a special officer here, and he ran wild. Can I assume his corpse is in the tent behind you?" There was a shuffling in the crowd, a mumbling that ran through it like a wave. Eyes that had once looked to her for leadership stared at her with fear instead. It was as if they could see the blood dripping from her hands. Well, what the heck?
Hold on.
My Discord popped open, sorry.
Discord's messing up.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Messing the hell out. Just start that bit again.
Okay. She squeezed, you did it, you brought up, blah, blah, blah. There was a shuffling in the crowd, Okay, it was as if they could see the blood dripping from her hands. She looked up, removed any trace of hesitation from her stance. "That's right. I killed him just now. I'm sure that's not a surprise to you, since you're all stood outside waiting for me." Dragon glanced at the tent behind her, but he understandably didn't look too concerned. "Was it painless?" "Single shot to the head. Instant death." "Ah, shame." Helga glanced around, taking in the crowd, judging distances. Without a doubt, she could escape once it became necessary. Then she could take control of the rocket and pilot it to safe harbor. But if she did that, how would the Humalists get home? She supposed Skipper could probably give them a ride home on the Veritas, but no, she couldn't waste time thinking about that now. She had to think about herself and her family. If she's so strong, why didn't she just kill them, instead of relying on Samael?
Well, that wasn't what she was there for.
I see. Now, hang on, I have to go on D&D. People, I get too many DMs, I'm too cool.
You don't. We're doing a video, you don't have to.
No, I'm putting on D&D because I keep getting notifications, because we're doing a video.
Or you do like Dungeons and Dragons.
No, do not disturb. No, she couldn't waste time thinking about that now. She had to think about herself and her family. They'd spent years on the streets, desperately working any job in order to afford that medicine. Those damn green pills had been the only thing standing between them and an early grave, and they'd done whatever was necessary to get them, no matter how undignified. Even the thought of those days made her arms itch, memories of the way the skin would fall away rising to the surface. "Thinking about escaping?" said Dragon, still staring right at her mask, as if he could see her eyes through it. Well, the thing didn't really have a purpose at this point anyway. She took the mask off with one hand and tossed it away into the dirt, savoring the feel of the cold night air on her face. "If I was thinking about escaping," she said, adjusting the angle of her foot, "could you do anything to stop me?" That was right. Dragon was injured. Bruno and Serena were definitely still unconscious. She knew for a fact that there weren't any other Aether users among the Humalists as well. She could very well break out of the situation without much trouble. If things went well, she could do it non-lethally, but at the very least she could do it without harming any of the Humalists. Her eyes drifted back to Dragon's face. All she needed was the right moment. I've already had a signal sent out containing everything I've just... Oh, sorry, it was him. I've already had a signal sent out containing everything I've just told you, he said, now actually staring into Helga's eyes. I'd bet the Humanist fleet had already received it. They know exactly who you are already. You're screwed whether you run or not. Helga narrowed her eyes. Was he telling the truth? It seemed unlikely. He couldn't have been certain that she was the mole until just now, and he didn't seem careless enough to broadcast a potentially false accusation like that. If he was telling the truth, then she had no choice but to run for supremacy-controlled space and get in contact with the GID. If not, then there was a possibility that she could dispatch Dragon and just hash things out with everyone else. No, that was just wishful thinking. If the GID found out about what had happened here, there was no way they'd let it stand. They weren't nearly that kind after all. I think, said Dragon hurriedly, noticing her shifting her stance, that surrender might be the best option for you. You think wrong, said Helga, now returning Dragon's glare. If I stop doing this, I'm dooming my siblings. They're on a GID station, relying on their handouts. Olga, Nikolai. Was there a way she could get them out of there before the GID found out about this? If Dragon had really sent out that signal, she'd need to head out right away in order to make it in time. It felt like she was in a labyrinth, and new walls were presenting themselves all the time. There had to be a way out of this, an ideal path, but she simply couldn't see it. She knew for a fact that that path wasn't surrender, though. Helga looked up at the sky. The moon really was beautiful tonight, shining down on them like a giant white star of its own. Even the ruins behind looked wonderful in this light. She would have loved to explore them properly. Well, she said, still looking up at the sky, it seems that I won't surrender, and you won't let me go. It's a tough situation we find ourselves in, isn't it? Yeah, said Dragon. He had the same look in his eyes. A tough situation. I keep feeling I'm doing his voice wrong. It's driving me nuts.
It's a little too anime protagonist.
Can you give me the voice I did before that you like? Can you give me a reference voice?
I can't remember it either, but I know it wasn't this. This is like a little too gruff, I think.
It's like a little cockier. But he... right? Not like Sonic, though.
No, that's more Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, said Dragon, like that.
I guess, yeah, try it.
Yeah, said Dragon. He had the same look in his eyes. A tough situation.
No, that's not it. That's Skipper. That's high-pitched Skipper.
Said Dragon. He had the same look in his eyes. A tough situation.
No, that's just Skipper talking differently.
Give me help, then! You read it! Give me a reference.
Yeah, said Dragon. He had the same look in his eyes. A tough situation.
Yeah, said Dragon. He had the same look in his eyes. A tough situation. Like that.
Yeah.
The clearing emptied itself of noise, punctuated only by the hasty breathing of the crowd and the rhythmic clicking of some nearby insect. Helga and Dragon stared at one another with gaze unbroken, daring each other to make the first move. Dragon's hand twitched against the makeshift plasma pistol strapped to his hip, while Helga's was still. Dragon pulled out the pistol, pointing it at her and firing. Whoa, no chill. The movement was painfully slow. To be honest, Helga expected more. In the time Dragon was doing that, Helga was able to do 3 things. Excuse me. First, she whipped the red cloak off her shoulders, throwing the spread-out sheet in front of her in order to block the crowd's vision. The cloak was for concealment only. The black bodysuit she wore beneath it provided all the protection she needed. Second, she kicked her leg across the ground, sending a hail of dirt and stone flying upwards behind the discarded red cloak. They'd stay in that position for only a fraction of a second, but at the speed Helga moves, that wouldn't be the problem. The crowd, Helga's people, started to shout in panic and fear. With a pained expression, she blocked it out. Third, she unleashed a series of rapid jabs upon the hail of stone, sending each fragment flying through the red cloak, leaving tiny holes in its surface. A moment later, a series of shattering sounds rang out, and the bright light that had been illuminating the square was snuffed out. She judged the angles correctly then, and managed to destroy the lighting equipment using those projectiles. Oh, and for good measure, she ducked out of the way of the plasma shot. It struck the tent behind her, and the structure burst into flame. With visibility reduced, she'd be able to approach and dispatch Dragon without him getting an accurate shot off, but she'd have to be quick about it. Otherwise, the fire from the tent behind her would just provide new visibility. No time to waste, then. She kicked off the ground with a burst of dark red aether, keeping her body low to the ground as she approached. Dragon let loose another hail of plasma fire, but she easily weaved around them. This kind of situation was something she'd been trained for. In a second, she was upon Dragon, almost face to face. She slapped his pistol away with one hand, and it went flying off into the crowd. She thrust the other hand forward fingers first, aiming directly for Dragon's forehead. It was unfortunate, but she had no choice but to drill right through his skull and destroy his brain. Oh my god, is he a vampire? Otherwise, she had no guarantee he wouldn't come after her. Sorry, she thought, and went in for the kill. Okay, so that was kind of cool. Watch me lose Dragon's voice immediately when we start the next chapter. So, real quick, prediction, because you made a point to say the pistol went into the crowd, and we've seen some anime stuff in the story before. I bet Dragon's going to get saved by the doctor pulling the trigger on Helga with tears in her eyes. That's my guess. I'm locking that in. That was a fun chapter. Interesting. I will say it wasn't too much of a surprise, but that's fine. Not every reveal has to be that surprising. I was pretty sure it was Helga from the get-go. If not her, then it was the doctor. But still fun. Interesting encounter. I feel like Helga could have handled this whole situation better, and I also feel like Dragon was way too hasty to just shoot her, especially after she'd established that she was just doing this to protect her siblings, and Dragon knows about her anatomy.
Yeah, but the situation was that one of them was about to fucking go for it, so...
I think Dragon should have just let her go. Like, what could he do? Die? And if he let her go, it's not like she was going to chase him personally.
Yeah, but that info will get out.
What info?
But like what he was,
that he exists.
What he was doing.
Hello? Tan?
Hello?
Hello? Oh god, Discord.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Discord's messing up. What info does she have that they didn't already know? That he's a traitor?
Where he was? Like, previously the info was only between Helga and Samael, so if she gets out and like...
But how quickly can she get out? I guess they are still waiting on Skipper and Ruth. I don't know. Still, though, it's a shame.
Yeah, there's no right answer.
But, yeah, so my question for this week was, if you were Helga, what would you have done differently, if anything? Or do you think Helga did nothing wrong? Let us know.
Helga did nothing wrong.
Helga did nothing wrong. This is where the fan base gets split. Helga was just in her actions! She's a traitor! She let you die! She's righteous! She killed Dean!
Well, Samael killed him.
Yeah, but she didn't prevent it.
She created the situation.
She also could have prevented it with ease with her power. I guess that would have blown her cover, though. Yo. Alright, so yeah, that's our question for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for, not this week, this episode, for the next episode.
Nice.
Bye!
Bye!